Tonight our lesson is going to be on multi-digit multiplication. We're going to be multiplying two multi-digit numbers where one of the numbers ends with 0 or zeros. Let's start with thinking about our partial products. If we were to break up 45, we would break it up into 40 plus 5 because that is the expanded form of 45. How do we break up 50? Well, we really couldn't in expanded form because it would be 50 plus 0. But we could break it up thinking of multiplication problems. We could break it up by saying a basic fact like 5 times 10. 5 times 10 is 50. So if we were to take all of those and put it together, what would that look like? It would look like 40 plus 5 times 10. Now, let's look at that on a chart for place value. So we have our ones here. We have our tens. We would have hundreds. I'll abbreviate that. So how many tens do we have in 45? We have 4 tens. How many ones do we have in 45? We have 5 ones. Now, the times 50 means that we're going to have this 50 times, which is a whole lot of groups to draw. So instead of going 50 times, we're going to say 5 times, and then we're going to do 10. So how would that look? This means that we need 5 groups of our 4 tens, which that's 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, and 5 groups. And we need 5 groups of our 5 ones. That's 1 group, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. Now we've multiplied the tens times 5 using the distributive property, and we've multiplied the ones times 5 using the distributive property. Now we have the times 10. But before we do the times 10, let's look and see what we have now. How many tens do we have? We had 5 groups of 4. So 5 times 4 is 20. So we have 20 tens. For the ones, we had 5 groups of 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. Now, we have 20 tens, 25 ones. Now, to multiply times 10 means to do what? To multiply times 10 means to move your numbers on the place value chart. If you remember, whenever you want to multiply times 10, you just have to move your number to the place value chart one value. So, if we take our 20 tens and move them one value, that would give us 20 hundreds. 20 hundreds equals 2,000. It's 20 with 2 zeros. Now, we have to do the same thing with our ones. We take our 25 ones, which means we'll move them to the tens place. So 25 tens is 250. Now, when we add those numbers together, we will get 2,250, which is our answer. Now, let's look at this in another way. There is a much easier way to do this. The last way I just showed you was a conceptual understanding of it. That way you know how the parts of the number are working and how the multiplication by the double digit works. Now, there's an easier way. We can just roll the 0. Now, what am I talking about? Let's look at the two numbers. We have 45 times 50, and we have 45 times 50. I'm just going to roll the 0 into the answer. So watch. Now all I do is take 5 times 5, which is 25. My 5 here. Carry my 2 using the standard algorithm. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 is 22. The answer is 2,250. The exact same way we did it in the first slide. So, how do we do that again? We wrote 45 times 50. The 5 goes here, and we just roll the 0 in the word number 50 into the answer. Then we multiply 5 times 5, 25, 4 times 5, 20, plus 2, 2,250. Okay, now let's try a few on your own. I want you to do 32 times 30 on your own. Press pause. When you're finished, press play again to see how I solve the problem. Okay, so you've solved 32 times 30 by taking 32 times 3 and rolling the 0 into the answer. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. And your answer is 960. Now go ahead and do the next problem, which is going to be 62 times 20 and 51 times 500. Solve them, then press play to see how I solve them. Okay, 62 times 20, we're going to write 62, times, we're going to put the 2 in the ones place and let the 0 roll off. 2 times 2 is 4, 6 times 2 is 12, and our answer is 1,240. Now, the next one is 51 times 500, which is a pretty big problem, but we can handle that by using the same strategy. So we have 51. Oh, my pen is not working. Here we go. Let's try that. 51 times 5. Here we go. Our 2 zeros are both going to roll off. Not 1, but 2. So 1 times 5 is 5. 5 times 5 is 25. And our answer is 25,500. Hopefully you did a great job on those. Moving right along. Okay, now we are going to be looking into our sheet that I sent home, and we're going to be looking at the distributive property and how to use the distributive property to do some of the things that we're doing. So, which is multiplying multi-digit numbers when one of the numbers ends with a 0. We learned earlier how to use multi-digit numbers that end with 0 by finding your basic facts. So, first let's talk about the distributive property. Look at number 1. Number 1 is 40 times 28. Now, we can break up the 28 into 20 plus 8. Then we're going to take the 40 and we're going to multiply that times the 20 plus 8. So we're going to take this 40 and we're going to multiply it times the 8 and take the 40 and multiply it times the 20. We have that shown right here. Here's 40 times 20 plus 40 times 8. Now, we just have to solve by multiplying both of those and then adding them back together to get our answer in standard form. So 40 times 20 would be 4 times 2 is 8. Count your zeros. There's 2. That would be 800. 40 times 8, basic fact, 4 times 8, 32. We have 1 0 right there. And then we're going to add 800 plus 320, which is 1,120. Now, let's look at the next problem. 80 times 49. Now, what is 80 times 49 going to be broken up into? Well, would you break up the 80 or the 49? Hopefully you set the 49 into 40 plus 9. So now that means we're going to have to take that 80 and distribute it to the 40 and the 9. So what would that look like? We would say 40 times 80 plus 9 times 80. Then we would multiply to get both of those products here and here, add those together to get our answer. I'm going to let you finish that on your own. Okay, let's move on to some problem solving. Let's look at our worksheet on number 8. We're going to work on that one together. Number 8 says, Anton has $12. That means that he has a total of $12. He buys, which means he's going to spend some money, which means we're going to be subtracting that money. He buys 12 pens that cost 80 cents each. So we have 12 of them, and each of them are going to be times 80. So what does that look like? What are we spending? We're spending 12 times 80 cents. Now we have to find out how much money does he have left. We're not finding how much money he spent. We're finding out how much money he has left. To do this, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take our 12, multiply it times our 80, and then we're going to subtract that from the amount that we had in the beginning. But to do that, we can't say minus $12 like we want to. We have to kind of take this right here and put it into the beginning of our problem. So that's going to be $12 minus 12 times 80. So it's a two-step problem. Let's go ahead and start solving that two-step problem. Okay, 12 times 80 is what? Roll our 0 off. So 2 times 8 is 16, carry a 1. 1 times 8 is 8, plus 1 is 9. That's 960. Now, that's 960 cents. To change that to dollars, we would put a decimal right here. So now we're going to take $12 and we're going to subtract that from $9.60. So let's go ahead and do that now. 0 minus 0 is 0. I cannot subtract 0 minus 6, so I'm going to have to carry and get a 10. 10 right here, borrow and get a 10, not carry. 10 minus 6 is 4. Bring down my decimal mark. Again, I cannot say 1 minus 9, so I have to borrow. 11 minus 9 is 2. So I have $2.40 left. And that is how you find out how much change is left when you are given multiple things to buy. Go ahead and finish your sheet on your own, and I'll see you at class tomorrow.